All right, let's jump into another deep dive. This time we're taking a look at the Spirits book by Allan Kardec. This book is kind of unique. It's basically like a massive Q&A session.
Oh, yeah. Kardec basically used mediums to get answers from spirits about, like, all these huge questions about life.
Yeah, pretty wild, right?
Super fascinating approach. So for this deep dive, we're going to be focusing on part 3,
Okay.
chapter 6. It's called The Law of Destruction.
Ooh, that sounds intense.
It gets pretty heavy.
Okay, so like right away, Kardec just dives right into this idea of destruction being like a natural law. And the spirits don't mess around. They're like, destruction is totally essential for progress. It's almost like they're comparing to a forest fire, that clears everything out and then new growth can happen.
Right, but they're talking about like the whole universe. It's like this constant cycle of creation and destruction.
So it's not just about things falling apart. It's more about making space for something new.
Yeah, exactly. And then they go on to make this really interesting distinction between the destruction of the physical body and the indestructible nature of the spirit.
Oh, right.
So our bodies, they're kind of like temporary vessels.
Like a meat suit.
Yeah, it's something like that. But our spirits, our essence, that's the part that carries on.
That's deep. So if death is just a transition to something better, why do we freak out about it so much?
Well, the spirits, they have some thoughts about that.
So tell.
They say this fear we have, it's actually like a gift.
A gift, really?
Yeah. It's a reminder to make the most of our time here,
Yeah.
To figure out our purpose and really go for it.
Like a little push from the universe. Like, hey, you've only got one shot at this life. Make it count.
Exactly. But if we're not supposed to be afraid of death, then why do we cling to life so fiercely?
Good question.
Well, the spirits say it all comes down to this thing called self-preservation.
Self-preservation, okay.
It's like this instinct that's built into us, Keeps us going, makes us want to survive.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That makes sense.
And they see it as a necessary counterbalance to the whole destruction thing. Like, we need that drive to stay alive so we can develop fully.
So it's like a safety mechanism.
Yeah, to make sure we don't check out before we're supposed to.
Okay, I'm with you. This whole idea of spiritual evolution is really fascinating. But then the spirits throw in another curveball. They talk about how the need for destruction actually decreases as we evolve.
Right. So as we grow spiritually, we start to rise above those, like, basic instincts and desires, the ones that usually lead to us doing destructive stuff.
So we're not as focused on those primal urges anymore.
Exactly. And we start to understand what's truly valuable.
We get wiser, more compassionate.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're refining ourselves. But then Kardec brings up this whole thing about humans and animals.
Okay.
He's like, do we have the right to kill animals for food, clothes,
That's a tough one.
It is. And the spirit's answer is, well, it's not a simple yes or no.
So what do they say?
They say that we should only destroy what is absolutely necessary for our survival. Anything beyond that, they say, is basically breaking God's law.
It's a pretty strong statement about respecting all forms of life.
Definitely. And it challenges that whole idea that humans are at the top of the food chain, that we can just do whatever we want with the natural world.
Right. It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected.
Exactly. And that our actions have consequences.
Well said. But then the conversation takes a turn towards something even bigger and honestly kind of scary.
Uh-oh, what's that?
Calamities.
Oh, wow.
Those massive disasters like earthquakes, floods.
Pandemics.
Yeah, all those things. And the spirits have a really interesting take on it. They say that calamities are actually designed to accelerate human progress.
Whoa.
I know, right? It's hard to wrap your head around it, especially when you think about all the suffering that comes with those events.
I mean, it sounds kind of harsh.
It does. But they argue that these calamities force us to face our limitations.
Oh, okay.
That we have to adapt to come up with new solutions.
So it's like they're pushing us to evolve.
Yeah, like a cosmic kick in the pants.
I like that. But then Kardec asks a really important question.
What's that?
Why do good people suffer alongside the wicked in these calamities?
Yeah, that doesn't seem fair.
Right. Where's the justice in that? And that's where the spirits bring in this idea of a bigger picture.
Okay.
They use this analogy of the body being like a temporary uniform.
Interesting.
They're basically saying that our earthly lives are super short compared to the eternity of our spirits.
So even huge suffering, when you look at it from the perspective of eternity, it's just a blip on the radar.
Right. It's a really different way of thinking about things, and that's just the beginning.
Ooh, things are getting good.
definitely. We'll dive into the rest of this fascinating discussion in the next part of our deep dive.
Stay tuned.
Okay, so we left off with Kardec asking the spirits about, well, war.
Yeah, kind of heavy stuff.
Definitely. And the spirits' response is pretty intense. They're not holding back, you know.
So what do they say? What causes war?
Well, they blame it on our, animal nature, that primal urge for power, those unchecked passions.
Yeah, those base instincts we all have.
Exactly. They're basically saying that we still haven't fully evolved past those primitive tendencies.
So we're kind of hardwired for conflict.
In a way, yeah. But don't worry, they do offer a glimmer of hope.
Oh, good. I need some good news.
They say that as humanity evolves morally, as we start to embrace things like justice and compassion, war will become less and less common.
So we just need to learn to play nice.
Basically, yeah. They see it as a sign of our collective progress, moving away from those destructive patterns.
Okay, I like that. But then Kardec asks this question about the purpose of war.
That's a tough one.
And the spirit's answer is, well, it's kind of unexpected. They say it leads to freedom and progress. Now, how does that even work? How can something as awful as war lead to those things?
I know, right? It's a head scratcher. But they argue that even those periods of subjugation, as terrible as they are, can actually force societies to change, to innovate.
To adapt or die kind of thing.
Yeah, something like that. And they point out that a lot of advancements, like in technology or medicine, even social justice, well, those things have been spurred by war.
Wow. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, it's a complex issue, but it's important to remember that the spirits aren't saying that war is a good thing.
Right.
In fact, they condemn those who start wars just for their own personal gain.
Those who exploit and abuse others for power.
Exactly. They hold those people accountable for all the suffering and death they cause.
Good. Because that's just wrong.
Totally. And I think their point is that while war might play a role in our evolution, it's a role that should diminish over time,
As we learn to handle conflict in a more mature way.
Yeah, using diplomacy, understanding.
Compassion.
Right. But anyway, Kardec then shifts gears a little bit. He starts asking about murder, a more personal form of destruction, you could say. And no surprise, the spirits see it as a serious offense.
Makes sense. Taking a life, that's huge.
Absolutely. But they also delve into some of the nuances, what about intent? What about justification?
So are there different degrees of murder in their eyes?
Kinda, yeah. They draw a distinction between murder that's done out of necessity, like self-defense.
Okay.
And murder that's driven by pure hatred or malice.
Ah, I see. So it's not just about the act itself, it's about the motivation behind it.
Right. It's about understanding the context, the circumstances.
I see how that would be important.
And they also stress that even in those extreme situations like self-defense, we should avoid being cruel.
Show compassion, even towards those who might want to hurt us.
Exactly. It's about upholding that respect for life, even when it's difficult.
That's a tough one.
It is. And then Kardec brings up another interesting point.
Okay, what's that?
He asks about cultures that condone things like infanticide.
Wow. And this is in, advanced societies.
Well, advanced in some ways, maybe not so much in others. And this is where the spirits get really insightful, I think.
Lay it on me.
They say that intellectual development doesn't always go hand in hand with moral development.
Ah, so a society can be super smart, have all the latest technology,
but still be morally backwards in certain areas.
I guess that makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
But what about cruelty? I mean, that seems like a pretty universal problem.
Yeah, for sure. And the spirits, they link it back to that same instinct for destruction we talked about earlier. But here's the thing. They say that while destruction can sometimes be necessary, cruelty never is.
So it's all about intent, again.
Totally. Cruelty is like this pure expression of an evil nature, they say. It's completely devoid of empathy, of compassion.
It's just inflicting pain for the sake of it.
Exactly. And then Kardec asks them why cruelty seems so common in more primitive societies.
Okay, what's their take on that?
Well, they attribute it to the dominance of material instincts over spiritual ones.
So it's like when you're just trying to survive, you don't have the time or energy to worry about being nice.
Yeah, it's all about basic needs. Food, shelter, protection. But that doesn't mean those people are inherently bad, the spirits say.
Right.
They just haven't had the opportunity to develop those higher moral qualities.
So it's like a societal thing.
In a way, yeah. But what about those people in advanced societies who are still cruel? We'll dive into that next time. Okay, so where were we? Oh, yeah, we were talking about how the spirits explain cruelty in, less advanced societies, but then what about those people in more advanced societies who are still cruel? Like, how does that fit in with this whole idea of moral evolution?
Yeah, that's a good question. It seems like we should be past all that by now, right?
Right. But the spirits have a kind of interesting way of looking at it. They compare those people to rotten fruit. Like, you have this tree full of good fruit, but then you get a few bad apples in the bunch.
Okay, so they're like the outliers, the exceptions to the rule.
Exactly. They might be like undeveloped spirits who haven't quite caught up to the overall moral progress of humanity.
So they're kind of stuck in a more primitive mindset.
Yeah, something like that. And I think they use this analogy to make a bigger point.
What's that?
That moral evolution, it's a process. It takes time. Just like, it takes generations to perfect a species of plant or animal, right?
Yeah, to breed out those undesirable traits.
Right. So they're saying that humanity is kind of going through the same thing. It takes time to, like, purify ourselves from those darker impulses.
To get rid of the bad apples, so to speak.
Exactly. But the good news is they believe we're heading in the right direction.
Towards a more compassionate, more evolved state of being.
Exactly. It's not going to happen overnight. There are going to be setbacks. There are going to be those who cling to the old ways of thinking.
Yeah, that makes sense. But it makes you wonder, what role do we play in all this? Are we just, like, passive observers in this whole evolution thing?
That's a great question. I think the spirits would say that we each have a responsibility to contribute to the process.
So it's not just about waiting for humanity to evolve. It's about making choices that actually push things forward.
Exactly. Every decision we make, every action we take, it either moves us closer to that more evolved state or it holds us back.
So it's about being mindful, being deliberate about our choices.
Right. It's about cultivating compassion, speaking out against injustice, living in a way that reflects that higher understanding of who we are.
That's powerful. It's almost like we're co-creating this evolution with the universe.
Yeah, I like that. And it makes this whole exploration of the law of destruction so relevant to our lives. It's not just some abstract philosophical concept.
It's about how we choose to engage with destruction in our own lives.
Right. We have this powerful force at our disposal, and it's up to us to use it wisely, to create, to heal, to build something better.
Wow. So it's not just about avoiding destruction. It's about understanding its power and channeling it for good.
Exactly. And I think that's a great takeaway for all of us.
Well said. Well, folks, that's our deep dive into the law of destruction from Allan Kardec's The Spirits book. I don't know about you, but I've got a lot to think about.
Me too. It's definitely given me a new perspective on this whole idea of destruction.
It's not just about things falling apart. It's about transformation, renewal, and ultimately, progress.
And remember, we all have a part to play in that process.
So, as you go about your day, ask yourself, how can I be a force for good in the world? How can I use my understanding of destruction to create something positive?
Those are great questions to ponder.
And on that note, we'll leave you to continue your own exploration of the law of destruction and all its implications. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. Until next time, stay curious.